Hi there. Sorry I couldn't be there today, but I'm coming to you from the OIT One Button studio up in Rarig Center. So assuming this recording is understandable, then that means it worked, and that's pretty cool because this is a neat space and you should check it out. So I want to give you an update on the Developing Scholars domain. I want to talk about what I've been working on for the last semester and where I'd like to go from here and how hopefully all of you can help out with that. So for the last semester, one of the things I've been doing is going out and talking to faculty. I'm sort of newly returning to the university, as you know, and I felt like I sort of needed to get my bearings and understand where faculty were at, make sure I was checking my own assumptions about faculty and about their experience, and specifically about their experience in this developing scholar space, which we'll talk more about in just a moment. So I went out and talked to a variety of faculty, and I should say these were all assistant or associate faculty, so no full professors. And I found a few things that I want to talk through here. So the first thing I found, which was just a good reminder for me, is that there was a real mix in the knowledge of Lattice, and not just because of the name change, and CLA-OIT as well, but a mixed knowledge of who we are and what we can do and when it's appropriate for faculty to turn to us. And so that was a good reminder for me that we need to continue telling that story and continue selling ourselves, because faculty leave and return and are gone and come back, and we sort of fall off that mental map. And there were a lot of things that I heard faculty talking about where I was thinking, oh, we could have helped with that had you just asked. One of the things that I was surprised to hear and really excited to hear is faculty who are excited about integrating research and teaching. So looking at the work that they're doing in the sort of research side of their faculty work and combining it with their teaching, combining with the undergrad courses they're teaching, for example. And that might mean having students involved in research, but in some cases it might just mean having students working with research data that's being collected as part of a project, or having them look at the outcomes of research and talk through the process that arose of that, or what they might draw from that research. And so it was interesting to hear them talk about that as something they're really interested in, and then to hear that they, in many cases, weren't actually doing that because of a lack of time or a lack of assistance. One of the things we need to keep in mind that is that for someone who's working on tenure, being asked to put a lot of effort into their teaching can actually be essentially damaging, because it can actually hurt the progress that they make towards tenure on the research and publication side. And so they sometimes don't feel like they have the time and the people to back them up on making these big changes in their curriculum that might involve bringing in some new technology or changing the way they're doing things. I was also surprised to hear how many faculty are really familiar with outside tools that aren't things that we're providing or that Central OIT is providing, but things they're hearing about from their colleagues either at this institution or at other institutions. And these faculty are going out and doing deals with software as a service providers to get licenses for their class to something like Top Hat Monocle, for example. And they're doing that totally outside of our system without our knowledge. And that was a good reminder as well that the more we can be involved in that, we can hopefully save them some effort and maybe save some resources as well. So I wanted to touch on this idea of developing scholars, because this is a problematic term. I think a lot of you have come to me and said, what does that mean? And it's been problematic for me as well. And it's problematic for a couple reasons. So we've got this word developing, and that might be a noun, that might be a verb. Are we doing this to scholars? Are we developing them? Or are we talking about scholars that are in the process of developing? What does that mean? What does it mean to be developing scholars? And then the word scholars, are we talking about faculty or graduate students? Or are we talking about undergrads, the next generation of scholars who are in the process of developing right now? And my personal bias, because I love working with undergrads, is that I really would love to be focused on that generation of undergrads, on building the next generation of researchers, on those scholars who are developing. And so that's the direction that I'd like to go with this domain, and I'm looking for feedback on that. But I think that we can provide some really cool possibilities here. So next steps. I want to really seize on that idea of combining research and teaching and see if there's a there. And in order to do that, I'm hoping for some feedback from you. So, I got my slides wrong. Forgive me. A few years ago, we had a project called the Course Transformation Project. And for those who aren't familiar, it was a project that combined some resources with some time to redesign large enrollment classes and really think about where faculty wanted to go with a big redesign of a course. And I loved this project. It was one of the best experiences I had when I was at the university, participating in it, working on it. And I look at it with these really rose-tinted glasses. I think of it super fondly. And I'm wondering if there's a possibility of doing something similar towards the end of research-focused enhancements to classes. So if we could provide some of the resources and potentially some of the time that those faculty need to really rethink some of these courses to combine their teaching with their research, what would that look like? What would a CTP for research look like? But I want to check my assumptions on that rose-tinted glasses that I mentioned. And so I'm looking for feedback from some of you who were here at the time about your experiences with the project. Do you remember it as fondly? And maybe after I'd left, did the reflection on that change? So the first thing I'd like to do in the next week or two is pull together some of you who might remember that project to just have a conversation, a really honest conversation about it. So I'll set a time and put a note on the Slack channel. If you want to contact me directly as well, that'd be great. But I'd really like to see if this is something that might have legs. So that's where I'm at with the Developing Scholars project. There's a couple other things that I'm going to truncate here because I'm already running over the sort of 5 minutes that we talked about. But thanks very much for your time. Hope you all have a great day. I'm going to go back to Scrum training, although actually it's last week right now, so I'm not actually doing that right now, but you got it. Bye. Stop. I touched the screen. Stop.